Welcome back to the Unleashing Potentials podcast. So, joining me today is Maline Carroll. Did I say that right?
Yes, that's fine.
Welcome back to the Unleashing Potentials podcast. Hey, girl.
Hi, hey, nice to be back. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Let's give our listeners and viewers a recap of what we talked about when you first came. Do you remember? It's been
I
so
I want
long.
to say it was about grief, but I could be completely wrong. And just the steps that people take towards grief and how it's different for every person. And
Hmm.
grief is kind of long. It's lifelong. You don't
Yeah.
just stop
Hmm.
grieving. It just
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah. We talked about grief and adoption because we're both adopted.
Yes. And
Yeah, it
that's a
was an
whole
amazing.
different grief.
Oh yeah. It was an amazing conversation though. Where in the U.S. are you again, Maline?
I'm currently in Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. Are you guys getting smoke from us in Canada?
We're dying over here from you guys. Like y'all are just throwing it all. You're throwing your shade finally. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie, the US deserves it. Just gonna say.
Yeah, it's been so bad, the smoke.
I know.
I'm having to stay inside sometimes, and I keep clearing my throat. It's
Yeah.
bad, but it's
Yeah, I
good
mean,
news
when you
though.
step out, you can totally the kids, it doesn't bother the kids one bit. My son just you open the door, he flies out to the yard, he acts like there's nothing wrong. And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, do we have to do we do we have to swing for the 50th time? Like he wants to keep swinging back and forth, and I'm like pushing him. I'm like, okay, all of this energy that I'm exerting right now is actually creating more problems within my lungs,
Oh
not to
yeah.
mention Canada hates us right now.
We'll send you guys some love. We always
Oh,
do.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. For those who don't know you, can you give us an introduction again? Who are you?
Yeah, I'll just give you a brief intro. I am Maline Carroll, AKA Mae Claire. I'm an author, I'm a teacher, I'm a lifelong learner. And
Mhm.
I was adopted really young. My adoption was completed probably in the early 90s, but I was fostered way before that. I was adopted by white adoptive parents. And it was an interesting adoption because I went from supposedly a difficult situation, unfortunately, to ironically another difficult situation. So, the whole
Yeah.
idea of adoption being better or it's saving you, et cetera,
Mhm.
was kind of a small lie that grew bigger and bigger and bigger, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So I just kind of had to figure out my way. I had to learn how to speak my truth. And one of the ways I learned how to speak my truth was through writing.
I love that. We could go on and on about adoption, right? The pros and cons and adoptees, but overall, I think adoption can be beautiful. It can be what we make it. What are your thoughts?
Oh, that's a really interesting phrase. I think if the adoptee is truly at the center of the event, then that's what makes it beautiful. But if the focus is the adoptive parent wanting a child, the supply and the demand, et cetera, then I don't think it's beautiful because that becomes a transaction. And anything that's a transaction in my mind is human trafficking or trafficking in general. Um, but if the adoptee is at the center and your focus is to make sure that that adoptee truly has what they need, and in my opinion, that means preparing them to return to their biological family if at some point they want to do so. The adoptive
Mhm.
parent's job is to make sure they've prepared them well enough to be who they
Mhm.
are, who they were, and who they are at
Mhm.
the same time.
Yeah, you're right. That's some. I've interviewed so many adoptees now, and it's something that we did touch on. That it feels like we're being bought when it shouldn't be that way. Uh, I've been in foster care too. I've talked to people from foster care, and it's just a mess. I have high
It's
hopes
a
that it
mess.
will get better one day, but right now it's not looking good, in my opinion, based on my experiences at least.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think essentially family preservation is the best thing. If you
Mhm.
can find a way to allow the family to raise the child, even if it's kinship adoption,
Mhm.
right? If you can find a way to keep the family together, that's how things get better. But if the more demand there is, the
Mhm.
more supply is available or becomes available. And
Yeah.
if we can take out that middleman of even creating a supply and demand, I think that's where we can actually grow as a country, as a society, as a world of,
Mhm.
okay, you need help with your child. Let me know what it is you need. Because when I
Mhm.
look at my adoption papers, I was 500, I was $50,000. That's how much they paid for me back in the 70s ish.
Mhm.
That's a
Mhm.
lot of money in the 70s for
Yeah.
a human being. And it's also a trafficking situation because you're paying money to get, and they'll use things like, no, you had to do these fees and those fees. And at the end of the day, you purchased somebody,
Mhm.
regardless of the fee. But imagine, and I'm from Haiti, imagine what my birth family could have done with 50 grand.
A lot. I'm
A
from
lot.
Haiti too. A lot.
A lot
Yeah.
of gourds, a lot of gourds.
Mm.
And so in my situation, adoption wasn't about the best interest of the child or the best interest of the birth family. It was about how do I grow my family and continue to look good.
Mm. And that's sad, right?
Yes, yes,
No, I hope no one have to face that, because a child, no matter where they're from, they should be accepted and loved for who they are. And you mentioned something important, to keep them together with their family. In my case, it was the opposite that was happening, and that's what I noticed. Once a child is being adopted, it's as if their blood family doesn't exist anymore.
correct,
Yeah, yeah.
correct. The legal ties are severed,
Hmm.
which means, for instance, you could never petition for your biological mother to come to Canada
I can't. No.
because legally she's not your biological mother.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Correct?
You're
And
you're right.
that's the case here in the United States, where my daughter, who ironically also I have an adoptee,
Hmm.
you're aware of that, but my daughter,
Hmm.
when adopting her, that severed any connection. She still had the physical and spiritual connection with her mom. And we obviously we kept that open, but
Hmm.
that's not even in our control. That severs that connection. So her mom can never come to the States, or her family members can't come to the US
Yeah.
on the basis of a petition from her, because legally they're not her family. And that's the
Hmm.
saddest thing, is that if there's a way to care for someone, does it have to be severing again? Because first they're taken, second
Hmm.
things are severed,
Hmm.
third there's a disconnect because there's a lot of closed adoptions, etc. So it's
Hmm.
it's complex. It's
It
kind of
is.
why I do what I do.
Me too. Me too. It is very complex. You're right. I can't sponsor my blood family to come here. I could sponsor for them possibly to study. My mom doesn't know
Right.
English, but yeah, it's very hard. And
Yeah.
I don't know if they think it's doing more good, but it's a lot of damage to us adoptees.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting concept that I think a lot of people don't talk about, is the viewpoint from the birth parents.
Hmm.
A lot of times the viewpoint from the birth parents is uh they've also drank the Kool-Aid of, well, my daughter's in a better place. My daughter's being taken care of. My daughter's, and again, we have forgetting the adoptee at the center of the story.
Yeah.
A lot of times we hear from the birth parents, and then we hear from the adoptive parents, or we hear from the agency or the
Hmm.
orphanage, but we don't actually hear from the adoptee. And we're trying to change that, right?
Yeah, yeah. We are the voices,
We are the
and
voices.
I know both of us are doing very powerful work that's gonna keep growing. Yeah. Speaking of, you have two books or a book that you wrote. Tell us more about it.
Okay, so I actually wanted to talk about the writing process that I
Yes.
use
Yeah.
to help heal the wounds that I've acquired, I've gathered like a little squirrel gathering wounds and horrible experiences and also good experiences. Just a little squirrel putting away for the winter so that later I just pull it out. So one of the ways that I have allowed myself to heal or gone through the healing process is through writing. And a lot of times my writing is super raw. Actually, all my writing is extremely raw. And I don't know if you've read any of my pieces. I have a blog, and that's also, I'll just put up things that are going through my mind. It's
Yeah.
journaling.
Yeah.
I journal a lot, and then I compile that journal into a book, and then I self-publish it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that process for anybody who's thinking about kind of writing their memoir, writing their book, writing their life story, maybe writing some fiction, nonfiction. And I kind of wanted to go through the pieces that I have. Is that okay with
Oh,
you if I
yes.
go through the pieces?
I'm all
Okay,
ears.
wonderful. So I will start off by just talking about my first piece that I wrote. And that piece started when I was 8 years old. And I started writing in a journal that I'm not sure if my adoptive mother gave it to me, but I found a way for her to never be able to read it. Because I was like, you're really giving me this piece. Because I was not the strongest reader in the third, fourth grade, but I was a really strong writer, which you would think it goes in tandem, but it doesn't. It actually doesn't go hand in hand. Because I think you're pulling different parts of academia from different parts of your mind. But I started writing, and I just realized that I'm really taking off with this writing. And the first book I wrote was a compilation of my experiences from third grade until probably about 12th grade. So I just wrote a little bit every day and came up with a book, my first book. My first book is called Larimar.
Yeah.
And it is, thank you, and Struggles in an Unfair World. And this book I actually published with a publishing company. Bad idea, don't do it. They're expensive, and it didn't get very far until I renamed the book. And I renamed the book, let's see, I renamed it A Failed Adoption, Who Is Your Larimar? I renamed it so that I could do self-publishing for myself. And I self-published that rename. And this book is basically 8 to 18, 10 years worth of experiences. And it's thick. It's a thick book. And it focuses on my experiences, but it also focuses on how I became part of my foster daughter, who's 27, my foster daughter's life. So it's not even really about my adoptive parents so much, but you can't really write a memoir and not include adoptive parents because they're the ones who are shaping and molding you. So this book actually got me disowned.
Well, yes. I'll think twice before writing anything.
I knew you would laugh at this because this is where the comedy comes in. Like the things that are so out there. This book got me disowned because it spoke openly and freely about my adoption and how messed up it was. But keep in mind, this wasn't even about that. It included bits and pieces of that, but it was not about them. But because the narcissism that lived within my adoptive family, they thought it was about them. Like, you know that song, you think this song is about you, don't you, don't you, don't you? Yeah, that. So that book got me disowned for, I only refocused in, I only rejoined the family like the prodigal child, but I was not lost. So I'm going to say the prodigal family. I was not lost. Only about 5 years ago. So I'm in my 40s.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's an experience from 3 to 3rd grade to about 12th grade, but it didn't get published until I was about 25, right out of college. So I got disowned like 2010. You do the math. That's a long time being disowned. And I was, but to be honest, I was perfectly fine with it because I was like, you know what? if that's what speaking my truth means,
Mhm.
the hell or high water, bring it on. So
Yeah.
in my disownment, I wrote another book because that's how I'm going to live my life, is that I found my niche, and my niche is writing. And I found my like, it's a blessing.
Mhm.
God blessed me with the ability to put words together and to create images
Mhm.
that immediately catapult people into the story.
Mhm.
And I was telling my wife this. I was like, you know what? Listen, bitch. I didn't call her a bitch, but I said, listen, bitch, I am going to totally uh accolade myself in this particular interview. I'm like, we Black people don't do that enough. The
Yeah.
society has told us, be quiet, stay small, don't talk about what you can do, don't talk about what you've done. And I told her, I was like, listen, babe, I'm gonna accolade myself. I've been on Bernadette's before, and she knows me. I'm gonna accolade myself. So I'm gonna talk about my accomplishments because
Yes, please
we
do.
have
This
to.
is your playground.
This is my playground. We have to. So, with that in mind, I'm going to move to the second book, which I actually published after moving to the United States. So, I was in my 30s,
Mhm.
mid 30s, moving into the United States. And I published a piece called Rainbows But Not Unicorns. And this book
Cool.
is, it comes with a guide, a workbook.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, here's the
Oh,
workbook,
nice. Yeah. Yeah,
and
I
here's
love
the book.
that.
Now, let me tell you something about the cover. My daughter done charged me an arm and a leg for this cover. She knows how to make money. She created the cover,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
so
she
cool.
charged me like $500 for this
Wow.
cover. Yeah, I'm like, girl, I don't know where you learned how to be a businesswoman, but that's expensive. That's expensive. But I paid her. I
Mhm.
paid her because that's part of her truth too. Her
Mm.
gift is art.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
like one of your many, many gifts is art. And I'm
Yes.
going to pay you what you think you're worth
Yes.
in that
Yes.
situation. And she said 500. She was 13 at the time.
Mhm.
I mean, she probably could have gotten like a couple $1,000s for
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
because
I
of
love
this,
it.
because of the sales too.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
instead of saying you're going to get a commission, I
Mhm.
said, nah, just give me one price. I'll pay it. And then we never have to talk about that again. Um,
Family
but this,
business.
right? But this book is called Rainbows But Not Unicorns, and it's basically um, a guide to help adoptive parents learn
Mhm.
how to work with the adoptees in the home.
Wow.
And then the workbook, you read the parts, chapters of the book, and then you get the workbook. And this is
Mhm.
actually like an edited version preview. So
Yeah,
you get
yeah,
the
yeah.
workbook, and the workbook follows the book, and it
Yeah.
helps you ask certain questions. It allows
Mhm.
adoptees to answer. It's just a bunch of different things
Yeah,
that.
that's really
So
cool.
I wrote this book in um there's so many phases to understanding and coming out of the fog of adoption. In this particular
Mhm.
phase, I was angry. I was an angry adoptee, right? So I wrote this book. So every book I'll talk about has a certain phase that kind of circulates, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
The next book I wrote, and this is not necessarily 100% in order. This is right before I got disowned, so I made sure that I made it really nice. Um, I
Yeah,
went.
that's nice.
You laugh at the disowned part. It's just because it's funny, right? Because
Oh,
adoptive
I
parents.
do because I got disowned a year after I was brought to a strange country. I'm so
Yep,
used to it. I find it
yep,
funny because I'm like,
yeah, and it's their way of being in control,
oh yeah,
thinking they're
yeah,
in
yeah,
control,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I went on a trip to Spain with my adoptive family, with and my two siblings who were adoptive, so their kids.
Mhm.
Um, and I wrote this book, and this is just an observation on things in Spain and also my relationship with them.
Yeah.
And then asking just very poignant questions. And it's called What Part of Me is Saved? I grew up in a very, very
Mhm.
religious household, more like a cult. And
Yeah.
so I had to question my life as what part of me is saved? Is it
Mm.
all of it? Some of it? none of it, you know. So this book just kind of questions that
Mhm.
and God and the existence, and then just my relationship with my adoptive parents, um, combined with my relationship with my adoptive siblings.
Mm.
During this time, they were pieces of shit, let me tell you, but they have made many
Yeah,
changes.
that's good.
As a teacher, I started to develop writing pieces that would help
Mhm.
teachers, educators, adoptive
Mhm.
parents, former foster youth, foster care parents,
Mhm.
yeah, foster parents, just the whole triad, with how adoptees learn. And I created this little guide that also has a link to,
Is that you?
no, this is my daughter.
Okay, cute.
I also had to pay her for this, just so you know. Um, so this allows for the people overseeing us when we're young to better understand how we learn. So the Howard Gardner, I'm sure you've heard of him, the multiple intelligences. This kind of delves deep into how an adoptee may learn based on the multiple intelligences as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I wrote
Oh
this guide.
wow.
It's also connected. There's a whole course online, and then there's this guide that's broken up. You know, there's a bunch of little work stuff that they
Mhm.
can do. I'm a
Mhm.
teacher, I'm a writer. I'm just gonna spit out stuff that I do because that's what I do. The
Mhm.
This book was published in let's see what the year it's
Oh,
2017.
I have that book.
You have this book?
You remember you sent it to me? You mailed it to me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, because I was saying if you know part of my writing, you understand how open and just honest. This
Oh
book,
yeah. I
um,
still have it.
this is a satire. If you remember certain chapters, it's just looking at the nuances and yet how
Mhm.
ironic adoption is and how things happen that really should never happen
Oh yeah.
with the mentality of life is supposed to be better. So this is
Mm.
satire, you know, and it even opens with first chapter is called the white card. So it immediately dives right into um, what we deal with as adoptees of color
Mm.
when it comes to what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do based on what society sees and then based on what our adoptive parents see, right? They see us a
Yeah.
certain way, but the minute we step out of that door at
Mhm.
home, now we're being seen by society and how that white card is revoked
Yeah.
almost immediately. And
Mhm.
then I have a chapter on appreciation, um, the expectations of us appreciating certain things that we didn't choose to be in that position. Why is it that
Mhm.
adoptees are required to appreciate and be thankful when birth kids are not
Mhm.
usually? And
Yeah.
then this is my baby. This is my baby. Oh,
This
let me tell
one's
you
new,
something real
isn't
quick.
it?
Let me tell you something. I had to pay
Yeah.
an arm and a leg for that.
Who drew that? Your
And
daughter?
for this, my daughter. She's like, "Mom, I'm gonna be your manager." I'm like, "No, you're 12." So, but yeah, so this last book was, like I said, a satire. Hold on a second. Alexa, off. I'm making bread, and she had to time it for me.
Okay, hold on a second. Rocky off. That was my son.
Love it. I love it. Okay, so this is my baby. This is my newest.
Yes, it
I'm sure
is.
you've seen it on my page a couple
I
times. I've
have.
posted it.
Yeah.
So the title's not in front. It's not on the cover to spare people from having to post this in their page and be like, the fuck are you reading? Excuse my French.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
the title is beautifully on the back.
Oh, I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
I love how
And
you
it's
think.
and it's called My Vagina Smells Amazing. And I'll verbalize that. You see the look you just gave? Yes. That and you look to see, make sure your son is not looking. Oh,
Oh,
but it's
my daughter was looking.
re-empowering womanness. And this is
Mm.
all about re-empowering us females, especially Black females
Mm-hmm.
overall, and how we need to take back all of the things that were done to us during slavery.
Oh.
And this is my journey
Mm.
figuring out, am I who I am because of abuse, or am I who I am in spite of abuse?
Mm-hmm.
This is, like I like to say, 266 pages of amazing writing. And again, I'm going to say it because I wrote it. I'm super proud of this piece. Now, one thing that's different from this piece than the others is that this is only edited one time. That's how raw it is. I did a quick review, edited,
Wow.
and then I said, you know what? Any errors that are found, that's the natural part of writing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it or leave it. I even put a disclaimer in the first page. you're gonna find errors, so sue me, like, basically. But my daughter, look at this art.
That's very pretty.
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
she
So
charged me an arm and a
detailed.
leg, but this time she said, you know what? Let's use Massachusetts labor laws. I'm like, who are you? So she went in and looked at minimum wage
Mm-hmm.
and then calculated how many hours she spent making this.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm
That's
like,
so cool.
take it or leave it. Let's do this. So it's like $300. It was cheaper. I'm like, wait a second. How come we didn't use labor laws when I did my first book back then when you charged me $500?
Oh,
But
really?
this book, I think, Bernadette, you will like it. And the beauty is the title's on the back, so no one has to worry about having to explain it. But it's also on the spine. But it really is about empowering us women. And it goes through what I had to do as a person to discover who I was and who I became as a result of. And then it goes into trying to get pregnant, what that was all about, and then having my beautiful son. So I went through all of my memoirs. I have many other books that I've written, but they're more like fictional pieces, fun pieces, kids books. But these ones, the ones that I went through, I think it's about 5 or 6 books. Those are more memoir based. And the steps for writing a memoir for me were looking at it as a journal. There's no set rules and regulations for writing, and that's changing. I teach writing to a bunch of kids, and I never tell them you have to follow 12-point font, Times New Roman. Like, all of my books have a different font because the font focuses and aims at what I'm saying. You're going to find different font in The Perks of Being an Adoptee than you're going to find in My Vagina Smells Amazing. In fact, with that, yes, you're laughing at the title because you have to. It's a hilarious title because that particular book, even within the writing itself, you start off on the left when you're writing, right? And then anything negative, you'll notice when you get this book, starts to become indented and put into the right side, so that readers can start seeing, wait a second, here's the story. Whoa, something bad happened. Whoa, there's some more good stuff. Whoa, this is middle. This is kind of ambiguous. So I create a format, my own format, that allows for very quick reading, but also intentional lining up and indentations.
Wow.
To get the point across. I've always been like that as a teacher too. Let's get the point across. We're talking about grammar. Boom, boom, boom. That's all you got to know about grammar. Don't try and do more than you need to do for this, because then you're going to lose the point. That's kind of my writing process. I go into journal writing. I just write a little bit here and there. Then I take from here and there. I sometimes do some interviews, and then I put it together in a Word document, and then the rest is history.
Wow.
And that's my process. There's nothing complicated. I don't pay anyone to publish my stuff. I
Mhm.
pay for my copies, which are about $5 each, $3,
Mhm.
depending on the situation, and then I
Mhm.
sell them. But
Yeah.
if people go to my site, it's print on demand. It's the best for me. It's the best way to go when
Mhm.
you're wanting to publish something. The best way to go
Mhm.
is print on demand.
Wow, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all your amazing books. I love that you're very carefree and don't really give a hoot. Who cares about how you put it, the writing, and it's beautiful to see. I've been wanting to write. I just journal, and
Mm,
I can tell if I was writing with you, I would not question what I'm writing about. It would feel beautiful for me to just express it. And that's
mm.
what's so hard for people who want to write. Society, they make it look so hard to write because
Yes,
there's a
thank
certain way
you.
to write English. And I write poetry and I want to write more. But every time I run into grammar, I run into proper ways when really the proper way for me is what's coming in from the heart.
Yes,
It's the
yes.
message.
And I always see it like this.
Hmm.
If they're not going to verbally correct you, then they don't need to correct you in writing.
Mm.
No one has come up to me and been like, "Oh, Maylin, you said that wrong." Because I'd be like, "Bitch, no, I did not." Okay. I'd be like, first of all, I can do some Ebonics too. Second of all, I'm decolonizing the English language. I am
Mm.
decolonizing it because that's the problem. The
Mm.
grammar is about the colonization. It's not about whether, because even in slavery, we came up with our own work. Look at Haiti. What is it, 1804? When we became independent, we
Yeah.
created Creole
Hmm.
so that the French would not understand us, but yet we still understood them.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Ain't
Yeah.
nobody correcting them. Ain't nobody correcting us because now it's
Hmm.
a language.
Hmm.
So if they're not going to correct you physically there while you're talking, they need to not be correcting you on paper.
Mm.
You're not submitting a text for grades.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because you're not submitting a text for grades, and this, like I said, this is actually my second piece where I said just throw it out there. Throw it
Hmm.
out into the ethers. If I die, at least all my work is out there, and my poor wife doesn't have to sit there and be like, "What did you want to say here?" Like, it's done.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's my goal, is to get all my pieces out so
Hmm.
that it's out, and I know that it's not really about money making, though I do make some money, but
Hmm.
I know that someone's going to pick that up and be like, "Oh my God, this is just what I needed.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Just what I
Yeah.
needed for just the time as this."
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Your books are guides.
They're
They're
guides.
guides. That's what I would call them from what I'm getting from reading the one about adoption. It's guides. And it's not like any other books. I can
It can't
tell,
be.
when you're reading it, it takes you on a journey and it
Mm,
takes you on a process, and you leave your readers feeling the emotions that you went through and
mm.
how you went through them. That's what I love about your writing. It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. And I'd love
yeah.
for you to join me at some point because, like you said, sitting with me and just going through, okay, let me, quick caveat, I teach writing. I
You
taught
do.
during the pandemic, I made about 10 grand, 10 grand in that pandemic time
10. Can
teaching
you send me
writing.
half?
I could send you two. How about that?
Yeah.
Um, I could send you a fifth. But I made money teaching writing, and what I did was I had several different classes on the website called outschool.com. I'm not sure if your kids have gone on Outschool and got a class or took a class.
Mm-hmm.
Great. There's one called All School, there's one called Outschool. I was on
Mm-hmm.
both, and 10 grand just from Outschool. And what I did was I created a writing class, and
Mm-hmm.
I had over 400 kids go to
Wow.
that writing class, not at one time, but
Yeah.
I taught like 5 days a week, three
Mm-hmm.
sessions a day.
Yeah.
And I taught them how to publish. I gave them time to write in class. They
Mm-hmm.
sent me their documents. I did a
Mm-hmm.
brief overview. I involved the parents in this process. And then by the time we were done with class, they had a self-published piece that they could hand to a family member at
Wow.
Christmas.
Yeah, yeah.
Years ago, when I lived in the Dominican Republic, I taught full time, and that's when my oldest child was in sixth grade, seventh grade, and I taught a sixth grade class, and I taught this for 4 years straight, and I taught writing. I taught autobiographical writing, and all my sixth graders by the end of the year walked away with their own autobiography that they wrote from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, because it's a process, right?
Yeah,
And every day they had a little bit of time to write, and their scores for just writing in general on the tests they take, for school, the course tests, shot up in my class. My class was the only class that had scores that shot up in the area of writing and reading, because once you're writing, your reading actually improves. But reading and writing don't really go hand in hand, because you can see words on a page and your brain might look at it differently. But writing is, you're creating the writing. You're the one putting the words on the page.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody else is spitting words at you and you're having to decipher, but writing is you putting the words. So these kids, 40 kids graduated, quote unquote, with their own biography, with their own autobiographies.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt so good to know that these kids wrote their own story. They're only sixth grade. How much do you have of life in sixth grade? I'm like, listen, you got you wake up, you play on the video game, you go to school. What more, but they got creative. They got creative. And I said the max amount of pages is 30 pages, because I ain't going to edit 40 kids, 30-page, 70-page books. So they got a max of 30, minimum of 15. And they all produced, and they added pictures. And this was a book. This was like truly a book. Wow. So they really, that's my telling me that I need to take my meds. My alarm telling me I need to take my meds.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's a blessing, because it's what I'm using, the passion that I have, and I believe wholeheartedly that it's a gift from God, or the ethos.
It is.
It's a gift, because you don't just wake up and go, I'm going to write a book. But I do, because I've been given that gift to express myself on paper. And so I'm trying to share it with the world by not just having them read my stuff, but also offering sessions where they can just come and write and shoot off ideas. And this is where the consulting comes in. This is where the personalized coaching comes in. I'm also a life coach, and I focus on adoption coaching, and I focus on working with adoptees, but also mainly adoptive parents, because I don't really like kids. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I like my kids, but I don't really want to work with a bunch of kids on their adoption issues, because I'm also not, what you call it? Like, I'm certified to work with kids, but I'm not a doctor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's really hard, that fine line between suggesting certain things and getting in trouble for suggesting certain things. So I'd rather work with the parents.
Yes.
Then I can say, well, you gave me consent, so you're a grown adult.
Yeah.
I love it. And I love that I've been able to come here and talk about my writing. And I would love for you to come onto my podcast and just talk about your art or whatever you want. It's called Adoptee Pub. And literally, we shoot the breeze. Your kid can be around. You can be drinking. It's pub, because we're drinking, whether we're drinking alcohol or not, water. Most of the time I'm drinking water, not gonna lie. But it's just a time to just chill and write.
Wow, I love that. When did you start the podcast? This year?
You actually gave me the idea to start a podcast, and I just hadn't gotten the time to throw it in there, but I started it, I would say, about 5 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. That makes me so happy.
I only have 2 episodes. No, I have 3 episodes. But sometimes it's just me talking, and it's fine, because that's what I want it to be. It's just people come on there. There's no agenda. You bring the agenda, kind of like what you do. You bring the topic, you bring the agenda. I don't even introduce the person verbally, because they might want to be more anonymous.
I don't either. I don't. Yeah. We're both free spirit. I can't fit into a box or rigid rules. I really don't. Like, you just come on and talk. That's what I offer to all guests.
I love it.
Sometimes people need a bit of a guidance. They've never done this. They're
Yes.
nervous. I help them, but I'm
Yes.
like, this is my playground. Welcome. Just talk, right? Yeah.
I love
That's
it.
so
And
cool.
I've loved being on here. This is my second time. And I love just being able to share with people and
Mhm.
get my, it's also kind of a promo, not gonna lie. It's a little bit of promo, but
That's all right.
that's part of I think what we need to do as Black strong women is
Mhm.
not be afraid to promote the gifts we've been given
Yeah.
and who we
Yeah.
are. And I gotta show you this little guy. Is he coming down? Oh, 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 oh. Look at this little guy.
Oh, hi.
He can't hear you.
Hello.
He can't hear you. Hold on a second.
Oh my gosh, he does look like you.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
No.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. It's not crazy. But
Yeah.
it's like, I guess I didn't expect. Hold on, let's see. Microphone, speaker. Wait. Here we go. Bubby, hold on. Okay. Say hi, see if he can hear you.
Hello.
Oh, hold on.
Hi. So cute.
I can't hear you. Hold on. For some reason, I can't hear you. But he's
Oh, hi.
MacBook Pro speaker.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, technology hasn't been on my side. That I can say.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't pass it on for some reason, but I can let you hear. Hold on. You want to hear, Bubby? Gotta say hi.
Hello. Hi. How are you? Hi.
Hi. Oh, he's cracking up.
Hi. Hi. Hello. How are you?
Say good. I'm good.
I'm good too. Yeah, he's so cute.
Yeah, his face looks just like my face. It's crazy.
My
It's crazy
God.
because I've never had a bio kid. You know that. So it's like,
Yeah.
even though it's supposed to be like that, it's still a shock to me because I'm like, oh my God, this child's beautiful. Like, what was I like as a little child? And it puts you back there. The whole thing with adoption is that you don't have those, many people don't have those first pictures and the first few years, or, all they have is like whatever the adoptive family has for
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
oftentimes that's not enough.
You're right. I have one picture when I was a toddler. My mom kept it for me.
Oh, did she send
Yeah.
it to you? Like, do you have it with you?
I have it. Yeah, she mailed it to me years ago.
Are you in good
Oh
cahoots with her?
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
Good.
she drives me nuts here and there, but I mean, what parents does it?
Right. Is this your adoptive parents or your birth
Oh
parents?
no, that's my bio mom. My adoptive mom passed. She
Okay. I'm
passed
sorry to hear that.
from cancer years and years ago, probably a year and a half after I came to Canada. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Who'd
she
you stay
passed.
with then? Who did you stay with? Your father, your adoptive father?
I'm just gonna say all my adoptive family disown me. They don't talk to me. It's been over 10, 15 years. Yeah, foster care. That's where I was. And then
Wow.
I aged and I came out in the world.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. I didn't know all that. I need to go back and listen to some more of your podcasts then, because I did not, I misunderstood, I guess.
Mhm. Oh no, it's all
That's
good.
really
Yeah.
sad. But it's really sad to go from Haiti to a
Yeah.
better life, quote unquote, and then your
Yeah.
adoptive mom passes, and then nobody wants to talk to you, and it's like now you're thrown into the system, another system,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
It
that's
is.
emotionally draining.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I'm happy for people who have contact with family, adoptive family and stuff, but it does make me sad sometimes, but life happens, and that's why I think all my pain and trauma give me a voice to help other people.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
you do every single day. I watch and I listen and I look at your art, and you have this spirit about you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, as you were sharing your book, I have some poetry I write. Like I do my own drawing on them.
That's so awesome.
Yeah,
Can
they're
you
not.
read? Can you read like some?
You
Or
want
are
me
you
to
gonna
read?
post it on your page?
I don't know. I'm planning on verbally reading and sharing it week after week on Patreon.
Okay. You
Yeah,
want to wait until? Are you waiting until people start to submit? Can you stop, Yamal? He's trying to like press end on.
okay, okay.
I like. I don't want to end, but he has a mind of his own. Um, are you gonna wait until people subscribe to Patreon, or are you gonna do it ahead of time?
I might do one here and there, but this is pretty deep stuff.
Yeah.
I think I'm giving so much for free, and I
Yes.
think people should pay me money if they want more of me.
Thank you. I agree 100%. Yamal? Okay, go with Dada. Nope, he's
Yeah,
stuck to the boob. He's stuck.
yeah. Yeah, I can read. I can read a short one, but there's lots of them on here.
I would love to hear it.
Yeah, you ready? This one is called The Cut. The deeper the cut, the more it bleeds, the bigger the wound, the longer it takes to heal, the bigger the scars, the harder it is to hide. Truth is, we're all damaged and hurting, just in different ways. We hide pain behind fake smiles, brush off rejection like it's nothing. We bury broken pieces of ashes of failures. We hide pain so deep that we're numb and feel nothing. We thrive for perfection to imperfect nothing. That's it. Yeah, it's a short one.
That's deep. Sometimes the short ones are like deeper than the long ones even.
Yeah, and I just do arts and stuff on them.
But I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
So all of your writing, Bernadette, you could compile that into a self-published memoir of poetry.
I'd love to do. Yes, yeah. Send me
We
some
can work
pointers after
together.
this.
Yeah, we can work
Yeah.
together and I can help you. I'll guide you through the process and help you
Hmm.
self-publish because that's, I'm doing that with a couple other adoptees
Hmm.
who do the writing but don't quite know how to put it together to make a public piece.
Yeah, that's been my problem because I
I
write.
I
Yeah.
would love to set up a time where we can just sit down
Hmm.
together, and
Hmm.
do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And I wrote about mental health as well, right? Like on a deeper level. Um, yeah, I think lots of people can relate to it.
Absolutely. And the poem you just read about the cut, that's about mental health too. That
Oh yes.
that's like it's funny because I find that so many adoptees write about mental health because adoption, how you talked about at the beginning, how
Yeah.
it can be beautiful, and yet
Hmm.
why are so many adoptees suffering from mental health? If the aim is for it to be beautiful, how do we turn the pain and suffering and frustration into this beautiful thing
Yeah.
when mental health doesn't quite touch on the
Hmm.
adoptee experience yet?
Hmm.
I mean, even still, you go to doctor's offices and there's no option for adoption. It's just
No.
they expect you to know all this stuff, and it's like
Hmm.
I don't know
Hmm.
anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. When I was in the hospital on and off of different clinics, I don't think anyone, maybe once or twice over years and years, asked me about adoption. They knew my name, they knew my middle name, last name, my birth date, and what I was suffering from, but they didn't go deep enough to know that the trauma and pain I've experienced through adoption that has caused me those. No, you're right. I've never been asked.
Yeah. And the physical pain that you experience, I know that you have chronic pain. It's just all the
Oh
time.
gosh, yeah,
That's
yeah.
that also plays a role. Adoption plays a role in that because
Hmm.
all of our frustration, pain, anxiety is being put onto us physically, onto our
Yes,
bodies, and it just
yeah,
keeps weighing us down, 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 heavier and heavier. Doesn't
yeah.
matter the exercise we do, doesn't matter the spiritual
Hmm.
component we do, doesn't matter how much we believe in God or not. It's like that's not
Hmm.
changing the fact that our path and our
Yeah,
experience as adoptees has kind of shaped us
yeah,
into being people who are making a difference, but also carrying pain.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, as Black women, people expect us to be strong, and it's like we don't hurt like other people do. When really we do. We know how to carry wisdom and power and make the best of it.
Right. But
Yeah.
that's exhausting too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, God gave me stuff to do like writing and art because I'm not focusing on the pain. Yes, it hurts. I'm not. If I focus on it, I'd die early or go nuts, extra
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just not focusing on it. I'm doing things to uplift and
So he's
help
giving you
others.
like, so you have like outlets so that you don't
Oh
have
yeah.
to deal with like the physical pain.
Yes, yes, I do. My art, my outlet. I sing for fun, and my podcasting. That's
I've
my
listened to
playground.
the songs. I love them. My son is knocking everything over right now.
Oh no, it's okay.
So,
We
and you
can
know
wrap
what
up.
that usually means, remember having kids that age? Your son
Hmm.
was a little older than him the last time we did our podcast.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
and when they start knocking stuff over, it means that they're exhausted.
yeah. Well, that's a wrap, everybody.
Awesome.
We hope you enjoy the show.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we hope you
Absolutely.
enjoy the show. And I want to thank you for breastfeeding your son on camera. That's also a topic that could take
Oh,
us
we got
to.
to talk about that at some point.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
see, see,
I'm
we
gonna
got
sign
so
up to
much to
like
talk about.
all your availabilities. It's gonna be like Maline, 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 Maline. You're gonna be like, really? Do I have to have another one with her?
I found one person who's gonna be talking about breast health. One.
We need to
And
do it.
yeah, there's
We
so
need to
much
do it
shame
because
around the body.
and we need to talk about mastitis. We need to talk about all those things that come with breastfeeding.
Yes, yes,
But
we
my
do.
son is mad at me right now. So
Okay,
I
that's a
I
wrap, everybody. Come back another time. Thank you so much for your time. Oh my
You're
goodness,
very
it was so
welcome. Thank you
nice
for
to catch
inviting
up.
me.
Yes,
Thank
send
you.
me some links of your books and how we can start writing and work together.
Perfect. I will do that.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
You too.